We've already learned in our factoring how to factor quadratic trinomials, and we've also learned how to factor out the greatest common factor. In this lesson, we are going to do both. Take a look at the first example. We have 3x squared plus 27x minus 30. At first glance, it looks like a regular quadratic trinomial, but if you look closely, all three of our terms are divisible by 3. So that's exactly what we're going to do first, is we're going to take out the greatest common factor. Since all three of our terms are divisible by 3, we're going to factor out a 3 to the very front. So instead of 3x squared, if we factor out a 3, that would just be x squared. And instead of 27x, if we factor out a 3, that would be 9x. And instead of negative 30, if we factor out a 3, that would be negative 10. Now, for the part remaining inside of our parentheses, we can easily factor this. That is just a simple quadratic trinomial. In order to factor it, I know I would start with x times x in order to get that x squared. And then I need to think of two terms that multiply to negative 10 and add up to 9. That would be positive 10 and negative 1. 10 times negative 1 is negative 10, and 10 minus 1 is 9. Now, don't forget to bring down that 3 out there in the very front. It will be part of your final answer. The second problem is very similar. We have 4x cubed minus 20x squared minus 144x. It looks very complicated, but if you notice here, they are all divisible by 4. So we're going to start by removing the greatest common factor. Here they're all divisible by 4, and they actually all three have an x. So our greatest common factor is 4x. So we're going to go through and we are going to factor out a 4 and remove an x from each one of these terms. So instead of 4x cubed, if you remove the 4 and you remove one of the x's, that leaves you with x squared. Instead of negative 20x squared, so negative 20, we factor out a 4, that would be negative 5. And if we remove one of those x's, that leaves us with negative 5x. And at the end, we have a negative 144x. Well, negative 144, if you factor out a 4, would be negative 36. And remember, we removed that x when we moved it out into the very front. Okay, so now we still have that 4x. But for the part inside of our parentheses, we can break that down a step further. We know we would need x times x to end up with that x squared. And then we're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 36 and add up to negative 5. So something that multiplies to negative 36. What about negative 9? And 4. Negative 9 times 4 is negative 36, and negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. So we're going to have x minus 9 and x plus 4.